Good morning, everyone. And today, what we're going to be talking about is how to shift energy loops. And really, what that means is how to break through recurring emotional patterns. So, if you're someone who experiences the same kind of stuckness or blocks, and that they just kind of keep happening over and over again in a cycle or a loop or a pattern, then this class today is going to tell you how to actually break through them. And I'm going to actually give you a 6-step process that we're going to walk through live on this call to address one of the main blocks or one of the main kind of stuck points that you're experiencing. So this is going to be a really practical call, and it's going to be really detailed. So I'm going to give you some context before we dive into this six-step process, and then once we get into it, I'll explain everything. So I would encourage that you have a pen and paper handy, or at least you can take notes on your phone or something like that, and study what we're about to go through now, because I really think this is going to be transformative. And I want to start by sharing a story with you about how this process has actually been transformative for me. I'm running a business, right? And I also am married. And if you either run a business or you're married, you know that those things come with challenges, right? It's not always smooth sailing. It's not always easy. And in 2023, right, it was actually my first year of being married. It was my first year of being a parent. And it was one of the first years where my business actually got some traction, right? So in 2023, I was feeling a lot of pressure to, be stable in the business, in our new role as parents, and in my marriage. And to be completely honest with you guys, I struggled a little bit with some frustration, right? I was getting frustrated about this intense pressure that I felt to be a provider and to take care of everything. And I was really being called up into a better version of myself, right? In hindsight, I can see that. I can see that what was happening was I was being called up into a higher version of myself. So let's just say it was my higher self was tapping me on the shoulder and saying, you need to become a better person, right? Now, that wasn't what I directly experienced. I can say that looking in hindsight, that was what was happening. But my direct experience in 2023 was I was getting frustrated. I was getting triggered. I was kind of sometimes saying nasty things to my wife, right, and projecting outwardly to her. And I was basically just kind of feeling a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, right? And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because it was during that time where I stumbled across this process that I'm about to share with you today. And this process that I have stumbled upon through, my own self-development journey helped me to reduce the frustration, to stop being so triggered, to stop lashing out, right? And basically to control my emotions a lot better, right? So that I wasn't being such a shit person. And so today I'm going to share with you exactly what I did to learn how to control my emotional triggers. Because what I started to understand was that what I was experiencing wasn't directly related to my wife or the business or the family or anything like that. It was actually coming from a deeper underlying sense of not being good enough. I was getting upset or triggered or frustrated when I was having this deeper sense that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't able to, be the person that I wanted to be. And that was what was creating the trigger, right? So at the surface level, it might have seemed like these surface level problems, but at a deeper level, there was some suppressed emotion and some unresolved trauma that was keeping me stuck in this pattern of frustration, right? And so I'm sharing this very honestly and transparently and vulnerably with you because I know that a lot of people go through things like this, right? A lot of people go through these experiences where we feel like we're doing things that we might not want to be doing, or we're having experiences that we might not want to be having. And so in today's call, I'm going to tell you how to break through, which is exactly what I did, right? And I can sit here and confidently tell you that I've made leaps and bounds and of progress within my own self-development directly because of this process that I'm about to walk you guys through. It's helped me with my marriage. I really believe it's helped me with my business as well. It's helped me become a better father, better parent. And really, it's just helped me become a lot more balanced in everything that I do, right? And so without, sharing too much more, let's just get into it. And so I want to explain to you how this all works. So I call this shifting energy loops, right? How to break free from your recurring emotional patterns. Like I just said, we've all got them, recurring patterns, recurring loops, and they just seem to happen again and again, where we seem to just come back to the same energy or the same emotional pattern, right? And so we're going to talk about how do we shift those, right? How do we actually start to break free from those patterns? And the first thing that you've got to understand is really that it's normal for you to feel highs and to feel lows. So just take a look at this, image that I've got on the screen right now. And I want you to understand that you can imagine, like, here's the start of your life over here on the left-hand side, where it's just flat. There's the start of your life. And then here's the end of your life over here on the right, where it's flat again. So there's the start of your life over here, the end of your life over here. And so it's quite common for you to just have lows and highs, or highs and lows. And those highs might feel like confidence, right? And then the low might feel like insecurity. And then you might go up and down, and then you're feeling joy, and then you're feeling anxiety, and then you're going up and down and up and down, and then you're feeling frustration, and then you're feeling love, and then you're feeling hopeless, and then you're feeling peace. So firstly, it's normal for us to experience all of these things. It's normal for us to have these highs and these positives, and it's also normal for us to have these lows and these negatives. But as you can see on this image here right now, these are quite extreme. It's like I'm going up and then I'm going down, and I'm going up and I'm going down. And so I want you just now to reflect on your highs and your lows, because I'm sure that you have had some highs and I'm sure that you have had some lows. So you can just start to write down, like, when you are having a high, like, what's a common high for you to experience? Like, how do you feel? Do you feel happy? Do you feel confident? Do you feel calm? Do you feel excited or joyful? Reflect on some of the moments where you've actually felt these highs and these positive emotions, and just write down a few words that come to mind, right? Maybe it's some of these words that are already on the screen, or maybe it's some different words, right? Some different emotions or some different feelings that you felt when you're feeling really good. And this will be unique to everyone. So I encourage you to do this and really tune into yourself when you're doing this, right? And because it's going to be unique to you, right? It will be, you'll be able to go, you know what? Oh yeah, these are the things that I feel, right? And then once you've done that, like I said, only a few words. Once you've done that, you can then go and reflect on some of the lows that you've experienced, right? Or some of the negatives that you've experienced, right? Maybe it is insecurity, maybe it's anxiety, feelings of hopelessness or frustration, right? And just reflect on some of the main ones, that you have had. Now, before we dive into this, I want to help you just to change your perspective, right? I really believe that these negatives here, whenever we're feeling these negatives, right, or these lows, it's not just some negative experience that we're having that just sucks and we wish we didn't have it, but it's actually an opportunity for us to create more balance in our life. So this is what it looks for most people. It's like these really high highs and these really low lows. But what we really want is we want to create a journey through life that feels a little bit more like this, right? A little bit more balanced. And so the belief that I want to offer up for you guys is that every time that you're feeling these lows is an opportunity for you to find more balance. And actually, even every time that you feel these highs, it's another opportunity for you to feel more balance, right? If we are attaching ourselves to the highs, then we're going to be really upset when we have lows. So if we're really attaching a strong sense of importance to feeling good, like I need to feel happy, I need to feel love, I need to feel confident, I need to feel peace. If we are attaching a high level of importance to feeling good, then when we don't feel good, we're going to come crashing down, right? And if we are then, when we're experiencing our lows or our negatives, if we're also making it really, really important that we don't have those experiences, it's going to make it so much worse that we're having that experience, right? Because we're going to be saying to ourselves, well, I just want to feel love. I just want to feel peace. I just want to feel joy, right? And so if you're too attached to feeling one way, and you're really resisting feeling another way, so in this case, you're really attached to having highs and feeling positive all the time, and you're really in resistance to having lows and feeling negative all the time, or whatever it is for you specifically, then you're going to stay stuck in this cycle of up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And what we really want to do is we want to create balance. Right? We want to create some balance. And I'm going to talk through how to do that in a second, but I just want to give you this kind of context first before we dive in. And it's also another belief of mine that your soul, your spirit, has come to earth for evolution, right? You're here for spiritual evolution, right? And this is what it's all about. It's about learning to create a more balanced existence and not feel this like constant highs and constant lows, right? These insecurities or anxieties or frustrations or feelings of hopelessness that you might have are actually opportunities for you to evolve yourself spiritually. I really believe that. If you can start to look at the negative experiences that you have and you can start to develop a mindset where these negative experiences that I'm having are actually opportunities for me to evolve myself spiritually and to mature my soul, that's going to be a very empowering way of looking at things, as opposed to, oh my God, why am I feeling this way again? There's something wrong with me. Why can't I feel better? Instead of doing that every time you have a negative experience, instead, I want you to start to think, this is an opportunity for my soul and my spirit to evolve into a better version of myself, a more balanced version of myself, right? And that's really what we want, right? Because when you find this balance, right, everything becomes easier. Life becomes a lot easier. You're not chasing highs, you're not resisting lows, you're just facing reality as it is. And you're feeling more balanced in that. And through that balance, you'll start to feel calm, and you'll start to feel peaceful. And you'll start to have just a general feeling of happiness, right? It might not be like some ecstatic joy feeling that you get when you maybe, take drugs or you have those like really high highs from, whatever it is that you choose to do. But it will be a much more balanced happiness, right? A much more calm happiness, a much more peaceful existence, a much more balanced existence. And that's really, if you can just aim for that, right, you're going to feel clearer, you're going to feel calmer, you're going to feel a lot better, and you'll be able to really improve your relationships, right? You'll be able to improve your work, your career, your profession, whatever it is that you're doing to contribute to the world. Everything will start to improve when you improve and when you become a more balanced person. So with that being said, let's dive into this process, right? And now the first thing that I want you to do is to identify your recurring pattern. So this is where we're going to get practical. What's one thing that you've been experiencing recently that you're noticing is like a recurring pattern? I want you to write it down in your journal or in your notes. Step 1, identify the recurring pattern. What's a recurring pattern that you've been experiencing recently that you maybe don't want to experience or that you're in resistance to? So for example, it could be like, well, I'm getting constantly frustrated at my wife, or I'm getting stressed out that my career isn't going the place that I want it to go, or the business isn't growing the way that I want it to be growing, or maybe I'm not, my relationship with my kids isn't where I want it to be. Like, what's the recurring pattern that you're noticing in your life that you want to change or that you want to shift? First thing we're going to do is just identify that. So write that down. And then once you've done that, just drop a 111 in the chat box to let me know that you've done it. So I know kind of a good time to move on, right? Once you've identified a recurring chat pattern, just drop a 111 in the chat box below. Awesome. Cool. Andrew's got one. Adrian's got one. Albie's got one. Awesome. Sweet. Cool. That's part 1. Just identify the recurring pattern. So we have a recurring pattern. We have an awareness of what the issue is, right? Now, part 2 is to find the external attachment, right? Find the external attachment. Now, there's a way that we're going to do this, right? I want you to write down in your journal or think in your head the ending of this sentence, right? When I have blank, I will finally feel blank. So when I have a better relationship with my wife, when I have more money in the bank, when I have this perfect career, what is the thing that you think that you need? When I have dot dot dot, I'll finally feel dot dot dot. I'll finally feel peaceful. I'll finally feel good enough. I'll finally feel happy. I'll finally feel loved. I'll finally feel worthy. When I have this thing, I will finally feel this way. I want you to finish that sentence in your own way. When I have this thing, I will finally feel this way. All right. And it's usually always something external. It's like you feel like you need something external to make you feel something internal. So you have an external attachment. You're thinking, I need this thing out here. And if I don't have that thing, well, I can't feel this way. When I have this thing, I'll finally feel this way. So what is this thing that you need, that you think you need? And what is this way that you think you need to feel? When I have dot, 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 I will finally feel dot, dot, dot. Finish that sentence. And then once you finish that sentence, drop a 222 in the chat box, just so I know when you're done. When I have this thing, I'll finally feel this way. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. And so we've all got these as well, guys. And as you can see, everyone's, just dropped in the chat box, 222, 222, 222. Yeah. We all have them, right? So just a good reminder, you're not always struggling by yourself. Lots of people are going through similar issues, right, in their own unique way. We've all got these external attachments, and we always feel like we think we need something outside of ourselves to feel something inside of ourselves, right? But I'm going to show you as we go through this process why that's not true. But before we dive into that, let's unpack the unconscious program. So what this means is you're essentially running some kind of an unconscious story or an unconscious program in your head about, I need this thing to feel this way, right? When I have this thing, then I'll finally feel this way. Just type in the chat box yes or no. Were you already aware of what you just wrote down, or is this a new thing for you that you're now aware of? Yes, it was new. No, I already knew it. Just type yes or no, like no, or new or not new. Yeah, I'll be new, right? Maybe I didn't know that before, right? So it was unconscious. You weren't really aware of it, right? Kylie was aware. Okay, cool. You're aware of it. That's cool. Andrew knew it. Yeah, sometimes people are aware of it. Sometimes they're not aware of it, right? If you've been doing this work with me for a while, which Kylie and Andrew have, you may have already done this process before, which is why you kind of knew it, right? But yeah, oftentimes it's like an unconscious program, right? But whether you didn't know it or whether you did, it's good to have that in your awareness. And we're going to actually start to change that by using, this process that I'm going to walk you through now. But step 3 is to unpack this unconscious program. The first part of that is I want you to just think about your pattern, right? So step 1, what's the recurring pattern? Step 2, find the external attachment. When I have this thing, I'll finally feel this way. And I want you to now start to think, is this coming from more of a victim program? Like, am I putting myself in the position of a victim? Or if this was someone else's problem, would I say that they are playing the role of a victim? Or are they playing the role of a people pleaser or someone who's giving too much, like an overgiver or a caregiver or a people pleaser? Is your pattern more closely linked to the victim mentality or the victim program or the people pleasing program? And it might feel like both, but what I would encourage you to do is try to look at what you've written down subjectively, almost as if imagine it's someone else's problem. Would you say it's a victim problem or a people pleasing problem? So try not to be too identified with it, because sometimes people will be like, no, I'm not a victim, right? But like, I really encourage you to just look at it subjectively. Imagine it's someone else's problem. Is it a victim problem or is it a people-pleasing problem? And you can just write it in the chat, whatever you think it is, and obviously write it down in your own, in your own journal as well, or in your own notes. So is it a victim or is it a people pleaser? And the reason why we're doing this is because it's going to help us start to get a sense of the energy right? So it's like that victim mentality, right? Yeah, it's very common for people, right? Cool. Now what we're going to do, Andrew's people pleaser. Yeah, cool. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little short meditation to go a little bit deeper into this unconscious program, right? Because remember, we are on step 3, unpack the unconscious program, right? So what I want you to do now that you've got that understanding, it's like a victim or it's like a people pleaser, I want you to rest back into your chair and we're going to do a short little meditation together. Okay. I'm going to guide you through a short little meditation now. So whether maybe you're in your chair in your office, which is good. Maybe you're on the bus or maybe you're out and about. If you're driving, don't close your eyes and do this. But anywhere else, you can just kind of chill out and close down your eyes, or even just follow along as I'm talking and just use your imagination. I'm going to close down my eyes just because I like to close down my eyes when I do this. But I want you to, wherever you are, just rest and take a deep breath. Take another deep breath and really just relax into your body. So start to come out of your head and start to connect with your body, taking another deep breath and allowing your breath to guide you into your body and out of your head. So you start to become aware of your body, how you're feeling, start to become aware of the tension that you might be holding in your body, your shoulders. Right? Nice deep breath. And really relax and become present. And now I want you to imagine step 1, identify the recurring pattern. So just in your mind, just imagine what that step 1 is, right? Whatever that recurring pattern is for you, just imagine that in your mind. And then you can imagine step 2. When I have this thing, I'll finally feel this way. So just imagine that in your mind, whatever it was, whatever you wrote down, just imagine it in your mind. And then step 3, unpacking the unconscious program, you're understanding that this is coming from kind of like a victim mentality, or maybe it's a bit more of a people-pleasing mentality. And like I said, try not to attach to the word as much, like don't identify with the word as much, but just get a sense for the different feelings that come from that. So the victim energy, it feels different. The people-pleasing energy feels different. And once you've got a sense of that feeling, I invite you just to scan through your memory with an open awareness and start to connect with a time when you felt a similar way earlier in your life. So keep a nice open awareness and just gently scan back through your memory and see if you can find a time where you felt a similar way earlier in your life. You might want to take a deep breath. Again, just relax into a nice open awareness and see if you can notice something coming to your mind. It might seem completely random, a completely random memory is maybe is popping itself into your mind. Might be coming up from the subconscious. And it might be totally random as well. But just see if you can take note of what memories are coming up for you. And then which memory feels the biggest. Like which one feels like, oh yeah, that feels like that was quite similar. I felt a very similar way when I was younger. And again, if you haven't found one, just keep an open awareness, keep an open mind. And if you have found one, I invite you to take a deep breath into that memory. And then I invite you to just imagine that memory and get a pretty clear picture of the scene. So the environment, where were you? Who else was there? What was happening? Start to get a picture of your younger self. So however old you were. And then I invite you to see if you can get a sense for what your younger self was feeling in that moment. So what were you feeling? And see if you can also get a sense for what you were thinking, what you were starting to believe. Because generally we start to create these core belief systems about ourselves in these experiences that we have. So what were you feeling in that moment? And what were you thinking about yourself in that moment? Try not to focus on anyone else. Try not to focus outwardly on the external. Just focus internally on yourself, what you were thinking, what you were feeling, and what you were making whatever was happening mean about you. What were you making it mean about you? What were you starting to believe about yourself and the world at that time? Take a deep breath and let it all go. Take a couple more breaths just to relax into this experience. And then when you're ready, I would like you to imagine yourself, your adult self, as you are now, entering into that memory. So you're walking up to that younger version of yourself. And I want you just to go and give yourself a big hug. Give yourself a lot of love. And just tell yourself that whatever happened, it's okay. You tell yourself that you don't need to continue to feel that way about yourself. You can tell yourself that you don't need to continue to believe these things. And just remind yourself that you're loved. Remind yourself that everything is okay. And then you can just give yourself another big squeeze. And just tell yourself once more that you've got your back. You've got your back and it's okay. You're safe now. Then you can take your younger self by the hand and you can actually leave that scene. So leave that environment, leave that memory, and go somewhere that you used to actually have fun playing. Maybe it was a park or, the pool or somewhere, anywhere that you used to actually enjoy playing and having fun and being happy and joyful. And you can just take your younger self there now, go there together, and then you can say goodbye. You can just remind your younger self once more that everything's okay. You've got your back. It's all good. And then you can say goodbye. Might want to give them another hug. Take a deep breath. Let it all go. And then when you're ready, you can open up your eyes. Cool. Good work, everyone. Now, I just want you to write down in your journal or in your notes anything that you feel is worth noting from that experience, or you can just put it in the chat box. Anything that you want to share, anything that you feel like you want to air out, you can put it into the chat box, or you can just write it in your own journal in the privacy of your own notes. But that can be a very powerful exercise just to understand where these problems are actually coming from, right? As I was mentioning just before we started to record this, there's a blog on my website which talks about how to control your emotions so you don't be a shit person, right? And it goes into detail about our emotional trauma and our emotional triggers and how that all kind of works. And this exercise that we've just gone through today is an example of understanding where your emotional triggers that you're experiencing or your emotional patterns that you're experiencing actually originate from. And so when we can go back and allow ourselves a little bit of space to actually feel what we need to feel and let go of those old stories and let go of those old emotions, it helps us to firstly just understand ourselves a little bit better. But secondly, it gives us an opportunity to choose to be different now, right? Gives us an opportunity to choose a different path forward. And that's what we're going to talk about now, which is step 4, right? Step 4, now that we've unpacked that unconscious program, Step 4 is to create a new program, right? So Kylie's just put in the chat box, I'm safe, I am worthy, I am loved. That's awesome, right? So I want you to write down in your journal, in your notes, the new program, right? The new story that you're going to start to tell yourself. And really the new person who you're going to be. If the old person is that victim or that people pleaser, right? Who's the new person? Who are you going to be moving forward? And what new beliefs and new stories and new program are you going to install into your own mind? So write that down. Write down whatever you feel like you need to write down about that, right? Andrew's is around self-love as well. Awesome. Yeah. It'll often be around stuff like that, right? Safety, sense of self-love, self-confidence, right? Like I'm okay, right? I don't need to continue to people please, right? I don't need to continue to play this victim story. I can choose a new program, and that's going to be a more empowering program. So think about the kind of person that you want to be. You probably don't want to be the victim anymore. You probably don't want to be the people pleaser anymore. You probably want to be a new version of yourself. So basically, you can just write down who you want to be and start to create that new program. When you write it down, you are basically making a statement. This is the person who I want to become, right? And you're starting to create a new program, right? And I'll talk about how to really solidify this new program in a second. But firstly, I just want you to write down your new program. And once you've done that, just type a 444 in the chat box. So once you've got that new program, just write down a 444. Once you've got a few words, a few meaningful, sentences about the person that you want to become, the new identity that you want to occupy, you can write it down. And then put a 444 in the chat box. Awesome. Good work, guys. Sweet. Epic. All right. Now, step 5. Now, this is a really interesting little practice. We're not going to do a full deep meditation like we just did. But what I want you to do is I want you to take your hand, your left hand or a hand, and just place it on your heart, right? And you don't need to. If you're in a public place and you don't want to put your hand on your heart, you don't need to. I find it helps to put my hand on my heart. But what I want you to do is I want you to take a deep breath. You can close your eyes or you can have them open. You can have your hand on your heart or you can't, whatever you prefer. Go with your preference. I like to have my hand on my heart and I like to close my eyes and take a second to take a deep breath. And then let go. And take another deep breath. And on this second breath, I want you to imagine that you're breathing into your heart, right? So you're breathing and you're taking your attention to your heart. So breathing into your heart and letting go. And one more, breathing into your heart. And this time I want you to say to yourself, when I connect with my heart, I finally feel. And what's the first word that comes to mind? When I connect with my heart, I finally feel. What do you feel? What's the first word that comes to your mind? And I want you to write that down. When I connect to my heart, I finally feel. What's the first word that comes to your mind? All right? Write it down. Now, you might remember in step 2, it was find the external attachment. When I have XYZ, when I have this thing that I feel like I need, then I'll finally feel peace. Then I'll finally feel love. Then I'll finally feel good enough, right? Then I'll finally feel safe or whatever it is. But now step 5, when you connect to your heart, right? When I connect to my heart, I finally feel, and I'm sure some of your words will be peace, calm, love, safety, stuff like that. Let me know in the chat box, what words come to your mind? When I connect to my heart, I finally feel. Just share your word with us in the chat box. I would love to hear, what's coming to mind. Yeah. Kylie's got self-love, compassion. Awesome. When I connect to my heart, I finally feel love. I finally feel compassion. I finally feel love. So you've got to understand here. This is really, really important. And it's kind of one of the little secrets. You don't need all of the things that you think you need. You don't need whatever you think you need, right? That's external. When you connect to your heart, you realize I've already got it. And you guys shared these words with me, but I'm sure you actually felt it as well. You probably felt a sense of compassion. You probably felt a sense of love, right? You probably felt a sense of, peace or whatever it was. And so I just want to really make it clear to you that you already have that inside you, You do not need whatever you think you need to get that, because that is already within you, right? And so that's very powerful to remember and to work on nurturing, right? Nurturing that connection to your heart, nurturing that connection to those positive feelings, right? And finally, the last step is to integrate. So this has been a great session. I'm sure that you guys would agree. You know, this is a good exercise. It's a good activity to practice, and I'm sure you've felt something during this call today. You probably had some insight, and you're probably like, "Wow, that was pretty cool," right? Now, that's good. However, you need to integrate, right? Doing one session like this will not change everything for you, right? And I'm just going to be real with you guys. Like, I'm no bullshit. That's my thing, right? One session will not change everything. However, if you continue with that on a daily basis, that will start to create some change. And this is step 6, is integration, right? Which is that you really need consistency, right? You really need to continue practicing, to continue to connect to your heart, right? To continue to write down these new stories, to continue reprogramming the mind and creating a new program. And it needs to be a daily thing, right? It needs to be something that you become committed to, that you really work on integrating into your daily life again and again and again and again and again. Imagine if you did this exercise at the start of every day for a month, right? Just imagine how you would be feeling at the end of the month. Do you think that you would be feeling a stronger sense of self-love and compassion or not if you did it every day for a month? Of course, you're going to feel more self-love. Every single day you're doing it, you're connecting to that feeling. Of course, you're going to feel more compassionate towards yourself. Every day you're stimulating that feeling. Right, so this is why consistency is important and integration is important. So we will open up for some Q&A. I know we've gone a little bit over the usual time limit, but we will open up for some Q&A. But for anyone watching this replay, then I would encourage you to practice, right? And if you do want more help, right, then you can come into the program. We have a great program where we work on regulating the nervous system, reprogramming the subconscious mind, and healing the emotional trauma, which is very similar to what we just did, right? That was, in a sense, starting to heal and process emotional trauma. And, you know, in other words, shifting recurring emotional patterns, shifting energy loops, right? This is stuff that we have a lot of content on in the program. So if you are watching this replay and you would like to join the program, you can go to my website. You can read the blog posts. There's a free training on there that explains everything. You can message me on Instagram, the word details, and you can book in a call where we can have a chat as well. So with all that said, let's open up for some Q&A now. And yeah, I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have. If you have questions, if you don't, that's cool. But yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and we'll dive into the Q&A.